Please welcome co-founder and CTO, Sumo Logic, Christian Bedgeen.
Welcome to the closing session of Illuminate. Thanks for having been with us for the last 2 days, more than 50 sessions. We've had a lot of fun putting all of this together for you. I sure hope that you had a lot of fun participating here. This is our closing session, and I have about 30 to 40 minutes worth of, I think, a lot of fun material, including a lot of demos of new product features. So let's jump right in. 2021 though, right? So we were here last year, maybe 6 months into a global pandemic. A lot of things have happened since then. Vaccinations have become available, for example, but we're clearly still in the throes of a global health crisis. In light of all of this, I think we need empathy. Empathy with those that aren't as lucky to be working in our domain, with those that aren't able to just continue to work from home, and with those that are sick and have experienced tragedy in their families. And for those that wonder how to keep paying rent, and the list keeps going on. And I also want to acknowledge the difficulties Sumos have been facing all around the world. Despite the fact that we are a successful business, that we have become a public company in the last year, Sumos around the world have gone through significant hardships. I'll just mention as an example, we have about 100 people in India, and it was just heart-wrenching to see what that country had to go through. And all of this applies to all of you and your teams and families. We truly hope folks are reasonably okay. Finally, I urge you, also have empathy with those around you. We are all here in the innovation business, one way or the other. Please consider seriously taking advantage of approved medical and pharmaceutical innovations. And let's admit it, the world has changed, and it's changed for good. We're not going to see this many people in an office anymore. We're just going to work remotely most of the time. We're not going to see server racks and network cables anymore. All of this is basically over. Or in other words, welcome finally to the 21st century. Didn't really happen the way we thought, right? Anybody remember the year 2000? I think what has happened in the last 18 months is a step function change. Things are significantly different suddenly. Sumo Logic, for example, was not started as a remote-first company in 2010, and yet, over the last 11 years, we have evolved into a distributed company. We're spread around the US and around the world. For example, a large portion of our product development team is actually in Europe and India now. Despite all of this, going from distributed to predominantly remote is not easy and was not easy for us. And I think this is probably very similar for your work situation. We have always thought that the SaaS delivery model that is so core to our philosophy is a game changer. The world has caught up, and I'm glad that our approach provides even more value to you today. So when facing such a discontinuity, there's also opportunity, however. We need to adapt and evolve. And this is not just about how we work together. Evolution really also needs to happen in our businesses. And of course, many of you in our industry are used to evolution. But given what we have seen in the last 18 months, evolution has definitely accelerated. And the big evolution businesses are going through today, of course, already has had a name, and it's called digital transformation. And to be successful in the digitally transformed age, it all comes down to one simple mantra: customer experience über alles. This drives what we're doing at Sumo worldwide every day to make sure that you, our customers, have the best possible experience with our product and with our people, and then some. And of course, this is why you are using our products, to ensure the best possible experience for your customers. Because when the masses are at the gates of your CDN, that is really the only thing that counts. So this then brings us back to that notion of empathy. Empathy for your customers. And just because the world is digital doesn't mean your customers are. Humans are still the ultimate analog machine. By creating products and services that they need, you will get their attention. By being emphatic and creating the best possible experience, you give them a chance to fall in love with you. Whether it's in online banking, or in food delivery, shopping in general, in booking travel, even in 2021, or education, and especially in 2021. At the core of this experience lie the two things we've talked about for so long: reliability and security. The systems and applications that are delivering the experience need to be available, and they need to be performant. It really is that simple, and it really all boils down to this. You need to manage reliability, and Sumo gives you the tools and solutions. And of course, Your digital footprint needs to be secure. Customer experience is pretty shit when you leak their data, right? When you allow lowlifes to easily hack into their account, right? You need to manage security, and Sumo gives you the tools and solutions. And so now we want to talk more about what we've actually done over the last year. And we're going to bring out actually a bunch of demos. So you're going to hear from 4 of our product leaders about what we have been busy with over the last year. The people you will meet are representing our teams worldwide. We love building this product for you, and I'm so very excited to be able to show off the new stuff and to also give you a sense of who we are as people. And now we're going to hear from 4 of our product leaders about what we have been busy with over the last year. So the people that you will meet are representing our teams actually worldwide. We really love building this product for you, and I'm beyond excited to be able to show off all the new stuff. But just as much I am excited about being able to introduce you to some of the people behind the scenes that are part of our product development team that are making all of these things actually happen. So hey there, RS. It's good to have you. How are things in Tel Aviv?
Hey, Christian. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to this audience. You know, Tel Aviv is coming off a hot summer into autumn, and we're also at that time of year when we're ready to start releasing some of the new services and products we've been working on.
Perfect. So we have talked about the crucial nature of delivering a great customer experience, right? And so from the tooling perspective, APM and especially real user monitoring really capture that frontline customer experience right where it happens, actually. And so I know that we've been working hard this year on RUM. Want to show us what we have been able to deliver?
Happy to. Let's run the demo. And you know what we're doing with RUM, real user monitoring, is providing in context, and as you can see, within your application, within your service, in the Sumo Logic portal, you're actually able to see real user monitor bringing in the proper activity. You know, we show things like page load time. We show things that affect the user experience. We look at the website performance and go down into specific level of detail that's tied to your content. When did the user see the first piece of content? When did the user see the last or largest content piece? And that starts giving you an idea of how the experience is. But we don't stop there. We also look at the metadata coming in with the real user data. We look at the type of browser coming in. We see which browser is performing best. We also see where most of the requests are coming from to understand how much you should or should not prioritize some of your activity. Now, we give you all this data, but we also allow you to be quite specific. So if I want to look at a cohort of a specific OS in a specific area, I still expect the same richness of data, which I get here, but now it's narrowed down to a certain cohort, and it allows me to become or drive more action based on this data. As with everything in Sumo, we don't stay at a high level. We let you connect the real user monitor activity, as you can see here, with the actual infrastructure. In this case, drilling into the tracing information, allowing you to analyze the key traces, pinpoint your application workflow, and align where that workflow is working or not working as it connects to the real user activity. So now we've been able to make this connection from the application and the real users via the services all the way down to the infrastructure.
This is great, and I love how it sort of integrates with the rest of the platform, things that we have in the platform. So kudos to the team, to the whole team that pulled this together. And just as much as you folks out there are focused on your users, so are we focused on you folks who are our users, right? And we know that one of the most stressful situations that you can possibly be in is when all the monitoring machinery actually issues an alert, right? And sometimes it's at 2 a.m. Whether it comes from RUM or some other place, right, Erez?
Yes, and we see this a lot. Let's run a demo and I can talk through it. So now within Sumo, when you get these alerts, you'll get them in your inbox. You'll be able to click through into the inbox, and now you're in context in the Sumo Logic app. What we build here is the alert response page. Describe what's going on. Show me which service is not working. More importantly, show me relevant alerts that happen at the same time and let me drill into those. Once I drill into those, here is where the unique aspect comes in. We collect your data using machine learning and provide context on what's going on. We look at thousands of dimensions. We look at terabytes of log lines. We look to all through the application for different anomalies that have to do with the entities the alert fired about. And what we do is then point you in the right direction using these new context cards. So it's not only about seeing the alert and having the proper workflow, it's taking you all the way down to the log and saying, here's where the problem is. It's allowing you, using the entity explorer you already have in Sumo Logic, to drill into a specific entity, to find out not only where this is happening in terms of your overall microservice deployment, but also go down to the specific entity and see, well, how's my memory doing? Where do I need more firepower in terms of CPU? And that makes the alert actionable. That allows you to drive down the MTTR, your mean time to resolution, and quickly solve that problem by riding this immense wave of data.
This looks fantastic, truly applied intelligence here, and I think this will make a big difference, for all those folks that are on call, and I know there's a lot of you out there that have that experience. So Erez, you're leading all of the observability product development. What are you thinking about that we will do here in the next year?
Using Sumo Logic moving forward, you'll see SLIs, service level indicators, SLOs, service level objectives. You'll see error budgets and reliability management becoming a first-class citizen in the Sumo Logic application and helping you manage the reliability of your applications.
So obviously that's a topic that's near and close to my heart, so I love it and I can't wait. Thank you so much, Erez.
Thank you, and again, thanks for having me.
So something that's very unique to our platform is that we can use the same data to drive not just reliability, but also security. And we know that for a lot of you, this is how you came to Sumo ever since we launched. And guess what? Even Gartner has actually caught up with the fact that we have been a SIM for you for a very long time. And we keep investing in security. And along those lines, we joined forces with a major security orchestration, automation, and response team from Italy. Dario is the founder of the company that we acquired and the leader of our new cloud SOAR offering. He is joining us now from Milan, Italy. Dario, so very happy to have you, and please introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Just a couple of words. Pretty in the field since 1999, and co-author of 3 ISO standard in the SC27 family, plus around 5 patents in the software area in the United States. Pretty excited to be here. So if it's okay for you, Christian, we can start with a short demo so the folks in the audience can see why we are so excited about the integration between Sumo and the CM and the CSE and the CIP and all the platform with the cloud SOAR.
Perfect, let's go.
So basically, the goal here is showing the audience today that we have the possibility to have a bidirectional integration between the CSE that you see here, that has an insight opened, and the cloud SOAR, which is the other interface that you see in front of you now. Michele is a simulated analyst at the moment that open his platform, and he can see the integration between the two platforms and an insight that is basically handled back and forth between the SOAR and the CM. As long as the investigation go further, there is the possibility to drill down between the insight and the playbooks and the history and the alerts that can be correlated by the SOAR within the investigation perimeter. The auditor, the investigator, the analyst, depending from the persona, can go high level or very deep, even at the very artifact level, and then can create a bidirectional integration between the SOAR and the CM in order to create a consolidated view and a continuous bidirectional loop. There is also the possibility to have a very detailed case management tool. We have over 100 different fields that can be customized and can directly communicate with the CSC, this particular case, virtually with any third parties. And we have the possibility also to handle the evidentiary part of the case management, which is very important when you handle incident and operation within a integration with the CM, where also forensics implications are required. Playbooks is the place where everything is concentrated and focused. You can create actions. You have a pre-built library that you can customize, where you can create very simple or very complex playbook with almost no coding required. Depending from the interaction with the third parties, you can create from the enrichment to the response to the bidirectional loop with the CM. You can send back a notification to the analyst and involve the humans if they are required to be part of the process. So the process can be fully automated or semi-automated, depending from the kind of integration and the kind of actions that you want to create. And of course, as you can see here, once the investigation is completed, then the results are sent back to the CM, and then you can restart the loop. You can close the loop. You can ask the SOAR to close and automate the closure part, and including but not limiting to reports. And in every case, you have the possibility to create manual interaction, including creating new incident depending from your setup. So as you can see, there is a very strong integration between CSC and the cloud SOAR. So that can be very beneficial, not only for people that have SOAR, they want to have SOAR in their SOC, but also people that already have CSC and want to augment the last mile of their investigation. It's also possible to create actions on the flight, to trigger actions depending from the events, to subject the execution of actions or playbooks under the umbrella of a daemon. And of course, you can create your own integration without needing any external help with a framework that we call OIF, or Open Integration Framework, whereas you can integrate virtually any third parties with almost no coding required in a very important granularity. So it is something that you can build very quickly. The average to build a full integration for Cloud SOAR is no more than 4 working days. So it's very quick. And of course, it's very granular. You can then link the single action or the bulk of actions within a playbook or within actions that, by the way, within the playbook context can also be subject to a recommendation engine, which is placed within the Cloud SOAR that can recommend actions and or playbook depending from the incident that you are eventually handling. So the incidents can also be searched. A timeline can be created, incident can be correlated, and of course, again, you have a lot of case management fields that can then help you within your evidentiary forensics and compliance, which is probably one of the most important differentiator for Cloud SOAR at the moment. It is one of the strongest case management in the market. I have no doubt about it. Just keep in mind, we were the first group of people that implemented the RFC 5070 a long time ago. So we have a strong heritage in case management. I think that that is basically what we do. And again, the reporting part is very strong, but it's not limited to the cybersecurity use cases. This is another important topic that I want to share today. Guys, I'm very excited because I know what's going on. So one engine, multiple cars. Christian, you can start talking about it.
Exactly. And so what we've seen here is a very rich product, and that gives us basically an industrial strength, no code, playbook, authoring, and execution environment. It can orchestrate your team activities in the SOC and automate many repetitive tasks. But a very important part of this approach is that there's also an open integration framework. And since this is now part of the Sumo platform, we are already also looking into how to leverage all of this for our observability customers. And so here's a quick teaser demo of this. So you can see we already added a new connection type to the Sumo platform to connect to the Cloud SOAR. Just like any other connection in Sumo, you can define it, and there's a payload template that will come into play now that we are creating a new alert based on a monitor that will trigger if you basic use case where you have too many errors. You can see how the information can be passed off. And now we are in the cloud soar, and we have the alert coming out of the Sumo platform. In this case, it's basically a reliability alert going straight into the cloud soar with all the information displayed, beautifully. And now the whole range of your functionality in the cloud soar is available to you to do the incident management and resolution process. So that's pretty cool. What, Dario?
Yes, it is already available. We can already do demo POV. Just call us. We will be very happy to help.
Thanks very much, and we'll send you some chicken pizza. Ciao to Milan.
Absolutely.
Good to have you, Dario. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we've just seen some pretty incredible new stuff here. So many ways to use telemetry to manage reliability and to manage security. And not just analytics, but complete end-to-end workflows. But all of this data has to first come into the system. And naturally, this now brings us to collection. And man, do we have an update here for you. And to walk us through all of this, here's Frank Reno. He's a true Sumo OG. Frank has been with Sumo forever, and he's worn a great many hats. He's our principal PM for data collection. And there's also one more thing that he does that I want him to talk about. Hey, Frank, it's good to have you. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, good to be here, Christian. Thanks for having me. In addition to leading data collection for product management, I also serve as Sumo Logic's open source ambassador, and I work on all of our open source initiatives. I've always found collection to be the most fascinating area to work on in Sumo. Collection is the beginning of everything that we build for our customers, and it's an area that has seen some significant disruption because of open source over the last few years. Now, last year, we introduced support for distributed tracing, and with that, support for open telemetry for tracing collection. We believe that open telemetry is the future for all data collection. And today, I'm very excited to introduce you to the Sumo Logic distribution of open telemetry. Let's dive in with a demo. Now, here is our OpenTelemetry configuration file, which we're going to use to collect all of our logs, metrics, and traces from our Coffee Bar microservices application. Now, a typical file will define extensions, receivers, processors, exporters, and the service. Let's start with extensions. Here we have the Sumo Logic extension setup, and this is where we provide our access ID and key to register the collector. This ensures that Sumo knows about the agent and can receive heartbeats to make sure it's running properly. We can also add the collector name and source category metadata so that all the data we collect is tagged appropriately. Receivers are how we get data into OpenTelemetry. There are receivers to collect all sorts of data, and you can leverage them all. You can even define multiple instances of a receiver to collect from multiple sources of the same type. Here I have 2 instances of the file log receiver, which lets us collect messages from log files. We're using this receiver to capture some of the logs from my application and some of the logs from the host as well. Each instance can define different settings for collecting data, and we can name each instance to refer to them later on in the configuration. Now, my application also admits some logs and syslogs, and OpenTelemetry can collect data via syslog leveraging the syslog receiver. OpenTelemetry also supports the Fluent protocol natively, making it easy to forward data from FluentD or FluentBit if you're leveraging those. Parts of our application have been instrumented with OpenTelemetry client libraries for tracing and metrics. We can leverage the OTLP receiver to capture all of that data. Other parts of our application are also instrumented with StatsD compatible libraries, and we are leveraging the StatsD receiver in OpenTelemetry to collect that as well. Now, our application also leverages multiple off-the-shelf components, and we want to make sure we have complete visibility. For example, we want to make sure we can monitor our Postgres database. The OT community is actively developing and growing the list of metrics receivers. However, there's no Postgres receiver at the moment. Sumo Logic also fully supports Telegraph, which is an open source agent to collect metrics and supports over 200 integrations. We wanted to make sure our customers could still leverage all those great integrations in our distribution of OpenTelemetry. So we created a new Telegraph receiver. Using this receiver, you can simply copy and paste all of your Telegraph configuration in, and you get all the same great data that you were collecting before. So now we have all the data flowing in, and now we want to do some additional processing on this. OpenTelemetry supports many different processors. For example, I can inject some additional metadata into the data, and I can do this by leveraging the resource processor. This lets me add, remove, or edit additional metadata. I can define multiple named instances to have different processing on different streams of data as well. OpenTelemetry supports many other processors. Here we're leveraging the tail-based sampling processor to sample our traces to give us some more control over what goes to Sumo Logic. Now that the data is processed, it's time for us to send the data to Sumo. And exporters are how we get data out of our distro. You can leverage multiple exporters to send to different destinations. For example, maybe I need to send the data to Sumo Logic, but I also want to send it to Kafka as well. And finally, we can leverage the service section to define pipelines for how we process the data. We can control how we put all the receivers, the processors, and the exports together to build a full-fledged data processing pipeline to manage all of our data. You have full control over the flow of data, and you have fine-grained control over the processing, which gives you great flexibility. The end result of this is that all of our machine data, all of our logs, our metrics, and our traces from every layer of the application are in Sumo Logic with a simple, open, and unified collection method. We can navigate our logs, we can navigate our traces, our metrics, our service maps. You can even take advantage of all the great pre-built content around our telegraph-based collection as well.
Yeah, this is very impressive and very cool. And Frank, you just did basically an entire demo in a text editor, so that makes me smile. The future of declarative configuration as code, right? So when can people get their hands on this?
Yeah, OT distro is in beta now, and we'd love for our customers to give it a try.
Fantastic. So the demo was focused on observability, but of course this will work for collecting security relevant data just as much, right?
Absolutely. When you think about it, it's the same data. And so OpenTelemetry is a data collector that can collect all of your logs, your metrics, your traces, no matter where they're running. And so you can definitely use our distribution for security use cases as well, because it is, after all, the same data.
All right. And so just to iterate this one more time, this is all based on the open source OpenTelemetry project. We have really doubled down on open source here at Sumo, and all of the stuff that we're adding here, exporters and processors, and a lot of the stuff that went into making logs work within OpenTelemetry. We have been contributing. All the things that we are going to be doing will be open source as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're doubling down on OpenTelemetry. We do believe it's the future of data collection, not just for observability, but for all data. And so our investments in open source here are largely focused on OpenTelemetry, and this is the future of agent-based collection for all of Sumo.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Frank. Kick ass.
Thanks a lot. Take it easy.
As you just saw, we are fully committed to open source, and it makes me super happy that we were able to join forces with the team behind the Sensu open source project this year. Caleb is one of the Sensu founders, and please come up, Caleb. He's actually here in person. That makes me super happy.
Good to see you.
That we can do more than just virtual, right? So, Caleb, we've seen folks from all over the world today. So I hear you from Portland. Is that another country, or?
Yep. My name's Caleb. I'm from Portland, the Great Pacific Northwest. I now work in product at Sumo Logic. Previously, I was a co-founder and CEO at Sensu that was acquired by Sumo earlier this year. So what is Sensu? Sensu is infrastructure and application monitoring for any cloud. We deliver a programmable observability pipeline and industry-leading monitoring as code solution. Of all the many use cases for Sensu, the absolute most possible is to eliminate data silos by integrating with platforms like Sumo Logic and other systems of record. I'm very excited to be here with you today to announce Sensu Plus. This is a new package solution that includes Sensu Plus, Sumo Logic's continuous intelligence platform. This makes Sumo Logic Analytics available, optionally available with node-based pricing, which is really, really huge. Very excited about that. And today, this is based on our agent, the Sensu agent, standalone agent, but this will be consolidated with the work that Frank was talking about. We're planning to build this on top of the Sumo Logic OTC distro next year. So let's take a look at what these two products look like together. We'll jump into our demo. So here we're looking at our host maps. They're available, giving you a breakdown of the infrastructure under management by Sensu in a couple of different groupings. And from here, you can drill down into an individual host and get some of those host metrics to see a host dashboard of your system statistics and events that we're processing. And we have a full ability to filter these dashboards, drill down to an individual host or even a subset of hosts. And we've added in the Sensu dashboard direct integration back to these Sumo Logic dashboards. So as you're navigating, looking at a host in Sensu, you can get directly back into Sumo Logic. Now, this is all driven, of course, by our customizable monitoring as code templates. These define what we're going to do, like what's the data we're going to collect, we're using the traditional service check here, but also how we're going to collect that data. You see here we have a feature we call assets. These assets define the individual plugins or instrumentation that's going to be used to collect that data. And this is a solution that works for on-demand distribution of those plugins in real time, cross-platform. You saw there even Windows support. We can customize what tags we're applying to these metrics and so on. So here's a second example template. This one is showing us how to get system clock information, NTP metrics, as well as alerting on system clock drift. We're going to send all this data to Sumo Logic. And again, we can customize the tags that are available there. And here we're going to apply that using the Sensu command line interface. This can be used interactively or integrated into your CI/CD pipeline. It applies those templates to the Sensu API, and then Sensu brings the system into the desired state. Here we see we've deployed in real time the instrumentation to start collecting that system clock information. Now let's look at how we deploy this solution. This is going to show us how to install an agent. Agents can be installed from system packages. Here we're installing Sensu on a fresh system using RPM from our official Yum repositories. And you can see after the install completes here just how minimal agent configuration is thanks to this monitoring as code solution. All we really have to do is tell the agent how to connect to the backend and what are the topics or subscriptions that are relevant to that system. And Sensu will manage, we manage all the rest from the control plane. This is all incredibly simple to automate. Here you see that new node coming online directly in the Sensu app. And in real time, Sensu requests metrics and health checks based on those agent subscriptions. No need to pre-install anything. Those plugins are distributed on demand. And from there, we get right back into Sumo Logic. And now we can see this brand new nodes just come up. We're evaluating the host metrics and events being processed in Sumo Logic.
And that's great, Caleb. Thank you very much for the demo. It's great to see how synergistic Sensu is with Sumo actually, and I just love to see the YAML and the CLI and all that. The whole focus around developers, hands-on keyboard kind of people. So the Sensu architecture is very powerful as it provides essentially a programmable endpoint agent, right? And so clearly, monitoring is the focus here. And maybe when we say monitoring, we often think of more like ops and observability. But there's so much more to monitoring. And just like across our platform, there really is this kind of synergy that comes from the way that all the parts interlock. So tell us a little bit more about what other things we can monitor with Sensu.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll jump into our next demo. And at Sensu, we've always been advocates for monitoring as a tool for the entire organization, not just ops and dev, as you mentioned, but also security and compliance. And I love this idea that if it's important at readiness, it's important over time. This has been a huge aha moment for Sensu customers over the years where they've invested a ton of time in automating various security and compliance tests using tools like Inspec or OS Query and whatnot, or even custom scripts. And Sensu gives you this twofer where you can take those scripts and codify them and apply that to ongoing monitoring and observability. So here we'll look at a quick demo where I have a TLS certificate script that's going to evaluate not only the certificates, but the TLS server, making sure the right ciphers are enabled or disabled and whatnot. So I can take that same tool, which I may use from a security and compliance perspective, and automate it with Sensu so I'm getting that test being performed on an ongoing basis, whether that be daily, hourly, or even potentially on demand. And in packaging that up in Sensu, we can not only include the instructions, but we can also package up those scripts using the Sensu asset system and distribute those in real time. Here's another example using OS Query. We can take OS Query tests and codify them with Sensu. We can get alerted on those in real time. You can do things like monitor installed package versions, so you can keep track of packages that are installed across your fleet. Integrate with CMDB systems and whatnot. And then we see those results obviously in real time in Sensu. Here's a disk encryption test with OS Query. We see that we have an unencrypted disk. That may need attention. We'll look at another example. These are installed packages. We're collecting inventory data here. You can alert on packages that are problematic within your infrastructure. And then here's that TLS test as well. So Sensu gives you a ton of controls to get real-time alerts for all of this, but pairing this with the Sumo Logic platform is going to unlock even more value. And these are just a few examples. There are a ton of use cases here, and I can't wait to see what Sumo Logic users do with all of this.
Man, what a tour de force, right? So now compliance and security monitoring all on the same platform. So thanks to the four of you for joining the keynote today. Thank you also to all the teams that were working behind the scenes to build all of these things. I hope that we were able to show you how, with our platform, we can solve your observability and security use cases to keep your businesses reliable and secure. So that's it from us for this year for Illuminate, digitally, virtually, remotely, and maybe physically at some point. Auf Wiedersehen.
Power modern business with cloud-native observability and security. Sumo Logic's user conference, Illuminate, is the